So to some extent, Orwell facilitated the kinds of uses and abuses by the right that his name has been put to. In other ways, there has been the politics of selective quotation, so that some people will point to his first novel, Burmese Days, and say, there's the example of the anti-colonial Orwell, and so, of course, he would have opposed the Americans in Vietnam. Others say, no, not the young Orwell, but the old Orwell is the most important one. The Orwell of Animal Farm in 1984, his last political testament. That's the anti-communist Orwell. So, of course, he would have supported the Americans in Vietnam. And this is very clever, this politics of selective quotation. And it occurred even during the McCarthy era. One example from his famous essay, Why I Write.
Yeah, read it. Go ahead.
And Orwell says that the Spanish Civil War was his watershed political experience. The Spanish War and other events in 1936-37 turned the scale. Thereafter, I knew where I stood. Every line of serious work that I have written since 1936 has been written directly or indirectly against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism, as I understand it. And the word for is italicized. Now, during the McCarthy era, the introduction to the Signet edition of Animal Farm, which has sold more than 20 million copies. This was the edition often used, too, in the Commonwealth courses. And here we have in the introduction to Animal Farm. If the book itself, Animal Farm, had left any doubt of the matter, Orwell dispelled it in his essay, Why I Write. Every line of serious work that I've written since 1936 has been written directly or indirectly against totalitarianism. ... The politics of ellipsis. For democratic socialism is vaporized just like Winston Smith did it at the Ministry of Truth. And that's very much what happened beginning in the McCarthy era and just continued. Orwell being selectively quoted, the patron saint who could be quoted to your purpose, just like the devil can quote scripture. That was Orwell standing on the left.
Well, I feel like standing aside and just letting you get on with that, I have to say. I mean, that's a brilliant encapsulation of the misuse of the guy. But in Wattenberg's question about his instincts, where we started, I mean, you know, when he sets out, there's no question he has a Tory mentality. He doesn't really like the peoples of the empire. He doesn't like them. He doesn't much like Jewish people. He's lifelong very awkward with women, and sometimes rather hostile to them. He doesn't like the unwashed masses, but he's trying to talk himself out of the prejudices of his family, his upbringing, his class, and his empire. So that's what makes him intriguing. Now, he was conservative, as you rightly say, about many things, but not about politics.
Let's just end on a little bit about Orwell and his use of language and his love of language and his analysis of language. I mean, he really is that's one of the keystones of his arch, isn't it?
Plain speech and insistence on forbidding himself the use of the lie or the euphemism or the propagandistic. He would just not allow himself to argue in that way, and so his speech came out clearer, purer, and comes down to us like that. Any moral relativist or any moral philosopher can tell you it's very hard to discover what the truth is, but defining a lie is much easier. And he was very good at nailing those. Okay, take out the lies, let's see what we're left with. Take out the propaganda, let's see what we're left with. It's a lesson to anyone who wants to try and write in English about public affairs, or literary matters, actually, ever after.
But the extraordinary combination of launching catchwords into the language, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Newspeak, doublethink, Big Brother is watching you. The propagandist at the BBC during the war learned to perfect launching catchwords as slogans, and they became battle certified, which is one reason why everybody wants to steal his mantle. That's on the one side. Orwell, the propagandist, who could abuse language in the service of what he saw as the truth. On the other side is the Orwell who constructed a plain man persona that could speak in the purest English prose of the 20th century. Common sense for the common man. No one has ever done it as well.
Okay, on that note, John Rodden, thank you very much. Christopher Hitchens, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
And thank you for joining us. Please send your comments to Think Tank. For Think Tank, I'm Ben Wattenberg.